I know this may be weird to see considering my thoughts on Kiwami 3 before it released, but a friend of mine was kind enough to buy the game for me because they were interested in me talking about it because they knew how much I love Yakuza. So this is a thank you to them. I will be talking about Kiwami 3 in a separate video because I have a lot of not nice things to say about that game. For this video though, I just want to specifically focus on Dark Ties. And initially, I was just going to make this video about Dark Ties only, but I wanted to make things more interesting and actually compare this full-fledged game to another Yakuza expansion, the Kaito Files from Lost Judgment. So let's talk about why I think the Kaito Files succeeds as an expansion where Dark Ties fails as a full-fledged game. And let's start there. Is Yakuza 3 Dark Ties a full-fledged game like RGG promoted to us? The short answer is no. The person in PlayStation Universe who said that Dark Ties alone is worth the asking price needs to be kicked in their face. Dark Ties is a guiding game much like The Man Who Erased His Name and Pirate Yakuza. The guiding games are known for being much shorter than the average Yakuza game. And we've had shorter mainline Yakuza games before, like the original Yakuza 1, Yakuza 3, and Yakuza 6. The Man Who Erased His Name is like roughly a 10 to 12 hour game, while Pirate Yakuza is like a 15-hour game if we're just focusing on main story stuff. You wanna know how long Dark Ties is when you're just focusing on main story stuff? 3 hours.
Less than
3 hours.
And this is with watching all of the cutscenes too. It is a 3-hour game. RGG marketed Dark Ties as a full-fledged game, and it's comparatively way shorter than the other side games that it's based off of. And then also comparing it to the Kaito Files, which is marketed to us as an expansion campaign, it's 6 to 7 hours. The expansion campaign is longer than the supposed full-fledged game. The Man Who Erased His Name in Pirate Yakuza has 5 chapters, the Kaito Files has 4 chapters, meanwhile Dark Ties has 3 chapters, which is the same amount of chapters that the Majima Saga actually had. But the Majima Saga is complete dogshit, and I can at the very least say that Dark Ties is not at that level of bad. Now for those who have played the previous guiding games, you can argue that The Man Who Erased His Name and Pirate Yakuza always had that one chapter that forces you to do side content and prevents you from progressing until you finish that side content. And you are right, that is the biggest complaint of the guiding games, like Pirate Yakuza's Chapter 2 and The Man Who Erased His Name's Chapter 2 and 4 have this huge issue with their side content. And with Dark Ties, they did absolutely nothing to change that. Because when we get to Chapter 2, we are forced to do Konda's damage control and the Hell Arena stuff. And we are also forced to do a little bit of Konda's damage control and the Hell Arena stuff at the beginning of Chapter 3, the final chapter of the game. I don't know if people are giving this game a bit more leeway because it's 3 hours and they don't mind it, but I don't think it should get any sort of leeway at all. If they're still forcing you to do the side content because they don't have enough time to fill in for their 3-hour game, to me it just shows that they didn't really have enough substance to fill in that main story. Which in hindsight also makes sense because they are just adapting a story off of a mobile game that not a lot of people, including myself, didn't get to play. Since we are still on the topic of side content, I guess you can say that's the one thing Dark Ties has over the Kaito Files. Unlike Dark Ties, the Kaito Files doesn't have access to side cases, so the most you can do is just play mini games, and also all of the arcade games. and the only reward you get is just getting some SP out of playing these minigames, so it's not a lot. Dark Ties does have sub-stories to do through Konda's damage control. And not for nothing, if there's one thing I can compliment about these Dark Ties sub-stories, it's just getting a little more perspective on Mine's character. I think the idea of him actually dealing with the problems around Kamurocho, much similar to how Kiryu would handle it, is actually a really cool concept. The Mine we know in the main story is very cold and uncaring, but when you see him in sub-stories, seeing him do good deeds is actually pretty nice to see. Even if he's always vocal about how much he doesn't care about it, but deep down, he kinda likes being praised for the good deeds that he does. Despite the intentions of doing these good deeds just to build up Konda's rep, it's clear to see that Mine does actually care somewhat, and he has a bit of empathy. And in rare times, we actually get to see Mine in comedic situations, and I like it. So I will give Dark Ties its props for what it does for Mine's character in these sub-stories. In terms of the gameplay stuff, if you've played The Man Who Erased His Name and know about the Akame Network, the Konda damage control is practically the same thing. Do fetch quests, complete certain minigame conditions, and get into fights. And when you reach certain thresholds, you do get to have some bonding time with Konda, and I'm sorry, I don't care how silly you make him, I am not bonding with the sex offender. None of these interactions are going to make me like Konda more. At all. And then the Hell Arena is just your standard arena mode from other Yakuza games, but my issue with this is that everything is set, and what I mean by that is all the enemies you face in each category are the same enemies and no longer randomized, which I think is kind of lame. Coliseum is nothing special, but I like it because I just love Yakuza combat in general, and the arenas give me a chance to explore what the characters can do. Brawler Hell, I think, is the best thing to come out of Dark Ties. I like the idea of a roguelike dungeon where you defeat enemies to gain more rewards and to power a Mine, and the more you explore the dungeon, the better the rewards get. But also, the more you explore, the harder the dungeon gets, and you can choose whether or not you want to be risky to gain a bigger reward or play it safe. You have a bunch of items you can use, and you could also recruit people to actually help you during your dungeon crawling. Yeah, the dungeons are repurposed from Yakuza 7 as well as the items, but honestly, the way they did it for a beat 'em up format, I like it. I genuinely think this is good. But there's still a part of me that just feels disappointed that the side content is all this game really got, because the main story it's not fulfilling for me. And I know part of it is just a personal preference of me preferring a lot of the main story stuff than the side content things in Yakuza. I like when there's a decent balance, and unfortunately I think this game has the worst balance of main content to side content ratio. You can probably argue the same thing for the Kaito Files mostly being main story stuff, but what I appreciate about the Kaito Files is that it manages to have a fulfilling main story and doesn't force me to do side content in order to fill in time. Now to talk about my favorite aspects of Yakuza games, the combat. And while making this video, I was thinking, do I overglaze Lost Judgment? Is the combat for Lost Judgment actually that good? And yes, it is. I don't even know why I tried to doubt this game. Playing the Kaito Files and Dark Ties back to back only has me frustrated about how RGG just doesn't follow up from what Lost Judgment did best. Kaito is one of the most fun playable characters in the series. I've stated in my Yakuza Combat video that I never enjoyed Dragon Engine Kiryu because of how clunky he felt. And then Gaiden made it worse by slowing down Kiryu's combo speed to such an extreme degree that he just feels horrible to play. Kaito is taking Dragon Engine Kiryu and making him fun. Kaito uses Kiryu's Brawler and Beast style from Yakuza 0 and Kiwami. They mostly operate the same way, but they do have a few different finishers to match Kaito's character a little more. The things that make Bruiser and Tank stand out from Brawler and Beast style are the secret arts. The Bruiser having a parry that increases Kaito's combo speed, which allows for Kaito to also do juggles just by using Bruiser by itself, without the need of EX boost or switching to Tank style. And Tank's secret art gives Kaito a defense buff when he does a perfect parry. And the best part is, when you swap styles, you get to keep those buffs, and you can even stack them. So you can get the defense buff from Tank, swap to Bruiser, and continue to fight with it. Or you can swap to Tank and apply it to your combos with Bruiser's speed buff. Stuff like this is what makes Lost Judgment's combat so good. Just the room of creativity that it allows. It makes a player like me want to explore more of the combat depth. The only thing I think Kaito was missing was having heat actions that hit more multiple enemies, but other than that, he's still one of the most fun characters that they've created. When it comes to Mine, I actually thought he was pretty fun in this game. I think it's cool how they repurposed his boss moveset. He has a shoot boxing style, which is honestly one of my favorite styles in Yakuza. I love the rush style in Yakuza Kiwami, and I love the boxing style in Lost Judgment, so I knew I was going to like Mine. Mine does have some cool things. He has the quick step attack loop like in Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2. He can hop off one enemy to hit another enemy, and he has a super easy juggle to access, which allows me to do electrics on enemies, which I really like. It's just funny pretending I'm wave dashing at someone and then hitting them with perfect electrics. His Dark Awakening install is also pretty cool, allowing me to get some new moves and new heat actions. The one thing that disappointed me about Mine is the fact that his moveset is kinda limiting. He doesn't have any extra styles, and 3 of his finishers out of the light combo are the same flip kick. I don't know why they couldn't give him more unique finishers out of the light attack. He's already borrowing some things from Yagami, so I don't know why he couldn't just take some of Yagami's finishers from his 4 styles. And I think they could have gone a little further with the jumping off enemies thing. They didn't have to restrict it to just enemies. I think giving Mine a wall jump like Yagami has would have helped them even more. But that's just me wanting a little more out of the character. I still think Mine is very fun to play. I just wish he was a little less restrictive on his moveset. I don't know why RGG is just sometimes allergic to taking what worked, but they've been doing this for years, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised that they continue to still fumble on that aspect. And I just feel so frustrated with Dark Ties, because when I really look at what's given to me in the main story, I just feel nothing. Dark Ties only gives us 3 major boss fights, one that you already fight twice in Kiwami 3, and the other one you fight twice. And Ikari is really not that interesting as a character. He's just an opportunist and he's a bit of a coward. He's really no different from a Hayashi or a Tamashiro. He's really just a glorified jobber. The Kaito Files in comparison has a bit more boss fights, and yeah, you do fight some of the same guys again, but characters like Kimochi, Sadamoto, and the Doctor have a bit more uniqueness to them. And speaking of Sadamoto, who is revealed to be the main culprit behind all the murders, he actually has one of the most gruesome scenes in the entire series. The guy is fucked up, but he's also so compelling that I feel even more motivated to kick his ass. I think Sadamoto does a much better job as an antagonist by comparison. I will say what I like about Dark Ties is how Daigo and Mine's relationship didn't really hit off at the start. I like seeing Mine's harsh and cold nature clash with Daigo's belief in bonds. Made Mine question why people would throw their life away for Daigo, and then when Daigo finally did the same for him, he understood it. I like that. Seeing them bond and drink together is honestly pretty sweet. The ending sequence of Dark Ties is everything I would have wanted out of a Mine side game. And then seeing Daigo come back to the bar alone after the events of Yakuza 3 and seeing that Mine still cared for him even in the end after all that he did, it would have been the perfect ending for this game, seeing Daigo mourn the death of someone he really cared for, and leaving it at that. But we know that did not fucking happen. Instead, we had to get this rubber bush bullshit with Mine surviving his fall, and now he just joins the Daidoji. All of that emotion is now ruined with this shit writing. I ended Dark Ties with a fuck you RGG. When in comparison to the Kaito Files, after such a sweet moment between Kaito and Jun, and then that silly boss fight with the doctor, even though it was admittedly cool, we get a sweet moment between Mikiko and Kaito, which left me at the end of the Kaito Files saying, I'm glad the Judgment series ended here. This was the perfect send-off. In conclusion, please play Lost Judgment and get the Kaito Files. They're both amazing. Dark Ties is not worth the asking price alone. And don't worry, we'll get to Kiwami 3 very, very soon.